It's not controversial in the slightest to say that Starfield is a divisive game. Since it launched for Xbox Series X and S and PC back in 2023, Bethesda Game Studios' space-faring RPG has been criticized by many for not advancing its RPG formula the way that they had hoped it would, or for not fully realizing the potential of its premise, or even for its technical deficiencies. Now, at the same time, many have thoroughly enjoyed Starfield's expansive sci-fi offerings, from its intricate lore and engaging faction quests to its addictive shipbuilding and more. Now, personally, I fall into the latter camp. When I reviewed Starfield upon its launch close to 3 years ago, I absolutely adored it, so it's no surprise to me that I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with it on the PS5 as well. For anyone familiar with the Bethesda RPG template, Starfield is, in many ways, a familiar experience with a new wrapper. Players take on the role of a custom character who gets wrapped up with Constellation, an organization looking to unravel the secrets of space early on in the game after coming in contact with a mysterious alien artifact. In typical BGS fashion, along the way you cross paths with a variety of different factions, each with their own questlines, histories, and characters, all of it allowing you to dive deeper into Starfield's expansive setting.
The Frontier has a new captain? You working with Barrett, or did you pry the ship keys out of his cold, dead hands? We don't have a problem with Barrett. We want that ship, the Frontier. If you're the captain of it now, that means we're after you.
Player agency is placed above all else, in the specific way the Bethesda RPGs have been known for, prioritizing complete player freedom, even if it does come at the cost of frustratingly inconsequential choice and consequence mechanics. BGS's RPG formula has mostly stuck to its roots over the years, and though that doesn't always work in Starfield's favor, especially when contrasted with other AAA RPGs who have tried to take that further in interesting ways, the core strengths of the formula, at least to me personally, are still strong enough in the most important ways. A lot of that is down to how strong these settled systems are as a setting, especially where lore and backstory are concerned. Learning more about the history and conflicts of the setting never loses its charm, a lot of which is also down to how engaging the faction questlines are. Now, of course, you have to acknowledge the fact that Starfield doesn't completely stick to the Bethesda RPG framework. Going into the game expecting Skyrim in space is, in some crucial ways, a mistake, primarily thanks to how its world is structured. Starfield's world is far from a seamless open world, instead being split into multiple maps that are separated by loading screens, not to mention large expanses of space that you can pilot your ships through. Space travel in Starfield is something that has drawn criticism from many since the game's launch, with many having felt that it's too uneventful and monotonous, though Starfield does attempt to fix this with its new Free Lanes update, which accompanies the game's PS5 release. With the addition of Cruise Mode, which lets you freely cruise around in space within a star system while you go about other business in your ship, as well as additional points of interest in space and more combat encounters with its newest update, Starfield does try to address the issues that many players have had with its space gameplay. They work to some degree. There's a noticeable jump in the frequency of dogfights and things to check out, and Cruise Mode is certainly a neat new addition. Though it shouldn't surprise you to know that even with all of the new changes put together, Starfield's space gameplay still doesn't feel massively different from what it has been since the game launched. It takes longer for things to get monotonous, yes, but the expanses of space are still not where Starfield's strengths lie. Though, ironically, I still find the game's shipbuilding and customization mechanics among the best that it has to offer. That's not all that Starfield's Free Lanes update adds. The update brings a new layer to the game's progression systems, with the addition of a new currency in the form of X-Tech, which allows for deeper build variety, as well as a new late-game progression option in the form of new quality tiers, ship customization options, weapons, and more. Then there's new quests and locations, outpost building improvements, new game plus options, and more. All of which is to say that even though the Free Lanes update doesn't significantly overhaul many core game systems in the way that we saw with, say, Cyberpunk 2077's overhauls, it does still add to the base experience in a meaningful way. If you enjoyed the base game in its original form, then the Free Lanes update refines it and polishes it quite a bit, which will of course mean a stronger experience right off the bat for those jumping into Starfield for the first time with its PS5 launch. Many will probably be disappointed that the game hasn't undergone a more comprehensive reworking, but as someone who already enjoyed Starfield's offerings in its base form, I find the Free Lanes update changes and improvements quite solid on the whole. Along with the base experience, Starfield's PS5 launch also brings with it all of the updates and DLC the game has received since its Xbox and PC release in 2023. Of course, for starters, that means that, on a technical level, the sci-fi RPG is in a much more stable place than it was upon release. Now don't get me wrong, you're still going to run into plenty of the run-of-the-mill Bethesda RPG glitches, from jerky animations and clipping objects to dead-eyed NPCs, and more. But in my time with the game on the PS5, I haven't experienced nearly as many game-breaking glitches or hard crashes as I did in my dozens of hours with the game on the Xbox Series X, though it has been a while since I played Starfield on Xbox, just to admit. In addition to those updates, Starfield's PS5 version also has the benefit of launching right out of the gate with things such as land vehicles, with one of them being a new addition, creations, and a long list of quality of life improvements, not to mention 2 expansions in the form of Shattered Space and the newly released Terran Armada. In short, for those jumping into the game for the first time with its PS5 release, which I imagine many will be doing, Bethesda's spacefaring RPG is more polished and rounded out version of its original self with a substantial amount of content to tackle, which in particular shouldn't surprise anyone familiar with BGS's formula. Whether or not Starfield stands toe-to-toe with Bethesda's past genre-defining offerings is a question that answers will vary from person to person. But if you're looking for a massive, engaging sci-fi RPG that lets you loose in a space setting, well, you're in luck. That's exactly what Starfield delivers. Though the game is not without its faults, thanks to a compelling setting, engaging lore, strong faction questlines, and a bevy of content, among other things, Starfield has more than enough going on to keep players occupied for long stretches. For PS5 players who enjoy the genre or the sci-fi aesthetic, this one is well worth looking into.
And that'll be about it for this one. If you guys like what we're doing at GamingBolt, please consider subscribing to our channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.